Once upon a time, in a kingdom where the sun always seemed to shine and the flowers bloomed in an endless spring, there lived a princess who had everything. She possessed beauty, grace, and a future full of promise. But there was one thing she didn't have: the love of her life. Welcome to Stories Time with Mike. This is the story of the princess and the lost love, a tale of heartbreak, hope, and the kind of destiny that would change her world forever. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. The princess's heart had always belonged to a young man, not a prince, but a humble knight named Kalen. Their love was pure, unspoken, and deeply forbidden. You see, the royal family had already chosen another for her, a prince from a distant land, whose heart was as cold as the mountains that surrounded his kingdom. But despite the odds, the princess and Kellen's love bloomed in the shadows of the royal palace. They met in secret, in quiet gardens and forgotten corridors, where the world of titles and responsibilities simply didn't matter. In each other's arms, they found a solace they couldn't find anywhere else. They shared stolen moments of laughter and whispered dreams of a life together, far away from the watchful eyes of their kingdom. But fate, as it so often does, had other plans. One fateful evening, the princess was summoned to the great hall of the palace. Her parents, with grave faces, informed her that her marriage to the foreign prince had been arranged. The world they had built, the love they had so carefully nurtured, suddenly felt like nothing more than a fleeting dream. The day of the engagement arrived, a day that should have been filled with celebration, but for the princess it was a day of profound sorrow. Dressed in shimmering silk and satin, she felt as though her heart was being torn in two. She could see Kalen's face in every shadow that danced on the castle walls, and hear his voice in every breeze that rustled the leaves outside. As the princess stood at the altar, her eyes scanned the crowd and locked with Kellen's. In that single, heartbreaking glance, 1,000 words were exchanged. A silent promise, a desperate plea. But before she could even think to run to him, the palace guards intervened. He was taken away, imprisoned for the simple crime of daring to love a princess. Devastated, the princess knew there was nothing she could do. She was bound by duty, by the heavy expectations of her family and her kingdom. The man she loved, the man who had shown her what true love really was now lost to her forever. Days turned into weeks, and weeks bled into months. The princess went through the motions of her royal life, but her spirit was broken. She couldn't forget him. She wandered the empty halls of the palace like a ghost, her thoughts consumed by the memory of the man she could never have. Then, one fateful night, staring out at the moon from her balcony, she made a decision that would change her destiny. She would find Kalen, no matter the cost. She cast aside her crown, her jewels, her title. Under the cover of darkness, she slipped away from the palace, leaving behind the only life she had ever known. Through treacherous forests where ancient trees seemed to whisper warnings, and over towering mountains that scraped the sky, the princess embarked on a perilous journey. She was fueled by a love that refused to die and a hope that burned like a star in the darkest night. She crossed roaring rivers, climbed treacherous peaks, and faced dangers no royal had ever imagined, let alone faced. But nothing would stop her from finding Kalen. At long last, after what felt like an eternity, she found him. He was in a remote village, his spirit weathered but not broken. Kalen, though scarred by their separation, was still the same man she had fallen in love with. Their reunion was bittersweet. There were no grand declarations, no triumphant music. They simply shared a quiet moment, each understanding the immense depth of what they had lost and what they had endured. The princess had given up everything, her title, her wealth, her royal life, all for the love of a man who, by the laws of her world, could never be hers. And yet, in that quiet, profound moment, they realized something powerful. They realized that love, true love, could never be bound by titles or kingdoms. It was a force far greater than any crown or castle. But together, they could forge a new future, a life of simple freedom, built on the foundations of love, hope, and a destiny they chose for themselves. And even though she had lost her love once, she had found it again in the most unexpected of places, through the most difficult of trials. This is the story of the princess and the lost love, a story that reminds us all that love, no matter how lost it may seem, always has a way of finding its way back. Subscribe to our channel to get our daily updates.